Celtics is one game, one win from the 2018 NBA Finals. But before we look ahead to Game 6, let's look back at an epic Game 5 by the young guys.
We've talked about it all year, right? Nobody loves challenges more than us. Nobody has more fun attacking them. Let's go.
Come on, man. Here we go. We got all three. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Celtics undefeated during the playoffs on their home floor. Tatum rifles a pass to Bain.
We're doing a lot of great things. A lot of great things.
You got to give a lot of credit to this Celtic team. Lose back-to-back games on the road. What an effort tonight. Tatum has to put it up. Miles. There's the exclamation point. Jason Tatum at 24. A star has emerged during these playoffs here in Boston.
Feeling good. One win away from going to the finals. Doesn't get any better than that.
Just 20 years old, leading the Celtics in scoring in the playoffs. We'll talk more about him in a moment, but listen, we know LeBron James has been carrying the team, and LeBron and Kevin Love did a pretty good job scoring in Game 5, but where was the rest of the squad? We go back out to the Eastern Conference Finals where 3D Dennis Scott has the latest heading into Game 6.
As the Eastern Conference Finals shifts back to Cleveland for Game 6, there have been some consistent themes in this series. Number one, who smacks first in the first quarter normally rides the wave for the rest of the game. Number two, home court advantage. It seems like the role players make shots and play better basketball.
Yeah, I've never played in a series where home court seemed to matter so much. I mean, we've just played really bad here in Boston, and they probably feel the same way of how they played in Cleveland. But thank God we're going home next, and hopefully we'll play better and force the Game 7.
We're going to have to play a great game come Friday because, you know, they're tough at home. That's at least in our series, they just had their way. So we have to make sure that we're really focused and committed to playing the right way.
Going back home, we have a comfort level, and a lot of our guys have a comfort level of being back home and playing off the fans and playing off our crowd, playing off that court, you know, being more comfortable being back home for Game 6. So, you know, we look forward to having an opportunity to force the Game 7.
It's the first series I've been a part of that both teams play completely different on the road. Go back home, backs against the wall. It's kind of been our thing this whole year, so guys gotta be ready to leave it all on the line. It's win or go Cancun.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you have to wonder if a couple of nights in his own bed will get LeBron back to being a superhuman LeBron that we've seen of him. I mean, what did you see the other night with LeBron and just the apparent, you know, just didn't have it. He seemed lethargic.
Well, the thing that I've been questioning all year is just the amount of minutes that he's been out there playing.
Yes.
I think fatigue is just like anything else for anybody. When you're carrying this team, you're taking on a load night in, night out. Ty Lue, I thought should have did a better job managing his minutes during the regular season, regardless if LeBron wanted to play 82 games or not.
Yeah, who cares about the regular season?
Absolutely.
Who cares? Who wants to see LeBron play 82 regular season games? You want to see him perform in the playoffs.
Right. But, Tony, it's not just, you know, what's wearing him down. It's what the Celtics are doing and what Brad Stevens is designing to try and slow down LeBron.
You have to give Coach Stevens a lot of credit how he's been able to adapt and adjust, not only after the game, but during the game. So what makes him good is that he's throwing number of bodies at LeBron, but how they come down, you look at right here, you see all 5 guys are watching LeBron, and that's a great challenge by Brown. And if you see LeBron coming down fast break, you have to build a wall. Once he sees the wall, it'll slow him down. And how this team is able to get their shots and threes are from his penetration. We'd never see LeBron miss a wide open layup to the basket, but he was expecting to get hit by a tough player, Baines. And right here, Al Horford is beat, but active hands. So what he's told his players is anytime LeBron is bringing the ball down the court, he needs to see bodies and hands. So you have to have active hands. And right here you see everybody paying attention to LeBron because he is the most important player on the court. And when this team is glued, when they connect to LeBron, and also they throw different bodies at him, it makes it tougher for him to make adjustments because you don't know who's going to be guarding him in transition. I give Coach Stevenson a lot of credit for making an adjustment, not after the game is over with, but during the game.
Well, the biggest adjustment Coach Stevens made was not playing Semi Ojeleye because that's why Kyle Korver didn't play in the first quarter in Game 5. Still confused about that. But we're confused about this. How a 20-year-old rookie, his 97th career game, how is Jason Tatum doing what he is doing in this series?
Well, like Danny Ainge said, if they had the #1 pick, this is what's going to be his guy. But the guy got so much to his game. He can defend. He can go out there and create his own shot. You know, most guys, when they come into the league, they kind of just try to fit in.
Right.
He's out there trying to be a superstar, especially with Kyrie Irving being out, Hayward not being able to play this season. He's going out there and putting his impact on the game or early in the game, and he's done a great job with it.
And he's forged. He plays with a lot of confidence. And when you have a player that comes into an organization with so much history and tradition, is that he's not afraid to take the big shot. But also, Coach Stevens has done a really good job of putting all of his players, whether they're rookies or veterans, in position to be scorers.
And he gives them confidence to go do what you do.
Do what you do.
Yes.
Plenty more to come here on this edition of Game Time. We are leading up to game number 5 in Houston. It's set for the Western Conference Finals live here on NBA TV.
On Game Time, we're getting ready for Game 5. Dave McMenamin from ESPN, kind enough to join us in Boston. Dave, I said I opened the show, home has not only been where the heart is, but where all the good play has been so far. How does Ty Lue feel that the Cavs need to buck that trend? What's the most important thing that's got to happen tonight?
Most important thing, take care of the basketball. Ty Lue said pregame tonight that if they have 19 turnovers like they did in Game 4, they're going to really be putting themselves behind the 8 ball in terms of having a chance to potentially win. I mean, the Cavs obviously, at home court when they had the fans behind them, you could overcome those miscues. But in this arena where the crowd is crazy and there's those young athletes on the Celtics side, you're really going to be putting yourself in a tough position if LeBron in particular has those 7 turnovers like he had in Game 4.
Dave, for most playoff teams, the more they adjust, the more they want to get back to what they know best. And Cleveland's certainly similar, playing the 2 bigs together now with Tristan and Kevin. How is Brad looking at countering that in a way that he hasn't to this point?
Well, of course, Griff, Brad was the cat that ate the canary pregame, very coy, would not tell us what his lineup change is going to be. But obviously he has all those bigs that he can go to between Morris and Baines and Horford, Ojale right on down the line. You imagine that he has gone big on big, but that's allowed Larry Nance Jr. to enter into the series and become an effective force these last couple games. We'll see if the counter is to go small and force the Cavs to perhaps rely on some of their wings that haven't seen playing time recently in the series, a guy like Rodney Hood.
Dave, one of the many things I've marveled at watching LeBron here in year 15 in the playoffs is he finds out what version of himself, of the 18 selves, he's going to be that night that is best suited for the team and executes it. So do you expect the guy who comes out aggressive trying to score early, or who's making more of an effort to try and get those others more confident here on the road?
Yeah, maybe not 21 points in the first quarter like he had Game 2 at the TD Garden, but I certainly would expect an aggressive LeBron because he does recognize that if they fall down double-digit points here, this crowd will run with it. They're going to get behind the Cavs, and then it's just harder to execute when this place gets as loud as it does. The Cavs said they were not communicating effectively on defense in games 3 and 4, in games 1 and 2, and part of that was because they couldn't really hear. So I expect LeBron to come out in a tone-setting mode. Again, maybe not taking every shot like he seemed to do in Game 2, but certainly more of a scorer mentality than a distributor mentality in the first quarter.
Going back to your first point about the lack of turnovers, the other thing that you noticed difference from the first 2 games to the last 2, those 50-50 balls, it seemed like Marcus Smart was everywhere in the first 2 games, getting everything, and we've seen a lot more effort on that side of it from the Cavaliers at home the last 2 games. How important does that effort become now on the road if they're going to try and steal one in Boston?
Yeah, absolutely. They can't hang their heads if they're missing shots and waste defensive possessions without giving the requisite effort. I understand they only shot 25% from 3 in games 1 and 2 here, and it's human nature to have that carry over into the next possession. But if they do that, they will not win this game. It's pretty simple, especially when guys on Boston like Marcus Morris, like Marcus Smart, always seem to give that multiple effort on the defensive end and make the job hard on the Cavs regardless of their shots are falling or not. Marcus Smart only shot 4 for 17 in games 3 and 4. Did you see that affect his defensive effort? I don't think so. And so the Cavs would be sort of better served adopting a page of that mentality from Marcus Smart and the Celtics and applying it to Game 5.
Dave, always appreciate it. Enjoy it. Should be an unbelievable atmosphere. It'll be a lot better for you than anybody through the TV, so enjoy it, okay?
All right, great to talk to you guys.
All right, take it easy there. Great job. As always, Dave McMenamin, ESPN, joining us. Here are the others. And the vets, they have stepped up. And you got to start, I think, with Tristan Thompson, because in really the last two series, you can make a case, Smitty, that every time that he plays well, they win. And every time that he disappears or they don't utilize him, they lose.
Well, I think right now this is a better suited fit series for him. I think he gets the chance to bang with Al Horford. I think this suits him. I'm okay with Tristan Thompson. I'm okay with Kevin Love in this game. I'm really worried about Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith, and more J.R. Smith. I think Kyle Korver, yes, he's had some of those games where he's making or not making. But to me, I think J.R. relies on his offense too much. I think J.R. can make a difference defensively. When he's locked in defensively, I think that gives him a better chance. You obviously want him to make threes, but they really need him to lock in defensively. And I'm going to give my guy Kyle Korver, the mitten, a lot of credit. He does a nice job of playing position basketball. I want to see J.R. lock in, obviously, on both ends, but defensively is going to be very important for this game in Game 5.
And Kyle's effort, never a question, always chasing whomever down. And even in a player, remember, reminiscent in game number 4, everybody's running down the floor the other way, Griff, and he tips it to the point where they end up getting the ball back just because of his effort. The others always seem to play better on the road. We know that. Look at the supporting cast for me and kind of pinpoint who's the X factor here for Cleveland. What do you see?
Well, I think Kyle Korver, to Smitty's point, is going to be really important. Dave McMenamin mentioned something about, Marcus Smart's going to bring intensity all the time.
Yes.
He can go 4-17. It doesn't change his intensity level. Kyle Korver's going to be in the right place defensively all the time. He's an incredibly cerebral player. He's going to generate offense for them simply by virtue of the fact that they have to pay attention to him. So he enables them to create triggers in the defense, and Kyle's going to know what to do with those. But I think, to your point about Tristan, the reason he's so important, and I think Larry Nance is becoming more important as well, because unlike Houston, Cleveland doesn't have a great number of pit bulls in that locker room, and those guys have that energy level. And so in aggregate, they can kind of get to a point where they can match Boston's intensity, but it starts with Tristan Thompson having the ability to be as versatile as he is.
All right, we got more coming up. Did you notice there was a pretty good game last night? In case you hadn't heard. Rockets and Golden State. Golden State might still think it was a nightmare. We'll get into it next.